This changes everything for good. What if? What if there was a way to improve every aspect of what you're already doing without having to undo any of it? What if you could support every best practice you already use in a way that would deepen those practices without competing within them? And what if there was a way to support and encourage every desire you have, every intention, and every end-state outcome that's important to you? Too good to be true, you say. How's that working out for you? To paraphrase a famous influencer, ask yourself, how's it working out? Do you have all the time and treasure you desire? How's that trade-off working out? It is a trade-off, isn't it? Do you have the relationships you desire? Intimate, collegial, professional, or social? Human beings are social creatures. How's your social life? If you're in leadership of an enterprise, a sole proprietorship, a family, a small purpose-based group, or a wilderness trek, how confident are you? Does imposter syndrome pester you? How are your deeply held beliefs these days? Are they durable? Do they still carry you through the really tough times, or are they beginning to feel like thin paint on a moldy wall? If you're a done or a none, you'll know something about how this feels. You're fine? Really? Is there truly nothing to see here? Fair enough. You don't need to listen to any more of this. Thank you for spending a few moments together. On the other hand, if you're still listening, all those what-if questions have really great potential. To be brief, there is a way you can, and again, there is a way. It's a way that unlocks your mental capabilities. It's a way that aligns deeply with your personal, emotional experience of your life. It's a way that enhances your physical health. And it's a way that, whatever your beliefs or belief systems, invites you to a more profound experience of the spiritual in your life. Sounds like a pretty good way, doesn't it? Evidence and other things. Oh, it's evidence-based, all right. Evidence for this way dates as far back as the roots of civilization, so far as we know them, and continues right up to the modern neuroscientific clinical research on the mind. During the time after the intervention of philosophy and scientific inquiry, the focus of our desire for evidence has shifted away from the spiritual and emotional toward the mental and physical. But that's all just part of the process, too, and it ultimately means that scientific research is never done. This is a way that anyone can learn and apply and actually prove for themselves in their own lived experience. This is a way that, although it's greatly diluted these days, is still familiar to everyone because of its modern association with entertainment. This is a way that has powered ceremonial events since it was first used for anything, probably before the first identifiable civilization came into being. In fact, this way can be measured by modern instruments as frequency or vibration, and even translated into sounds we can hear. As such, it is, in fact, a way that is fundamental to Newtonian physics and general theory of relativity, as well as both quantum physics and quantum gravity. Back to you. But let's leave the esoteric aside for a moment and get back to you. You wanted to know what this is and how to use it, correct? Before we do the big reveal, are you doing anything else right now that does what this way does? You're probably doing something for mental purposes, something else for emotional connection, a third thing for physical health, and yet another thing for your wellness or spiritual health, right? Maybe you're among the fortunate few who've learned that combining yoga and meditation, for example, works in all four areas: mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual. MEPS, M-E-P-S for short. Or maybe, although it's rare, you've discovered how to combine all four aspects into a single full MEPS way that works for you. If you have, you don't need to listen any further. Exit stage right. No hard feelings. Ghosting is in these days, and time is precious, especially when you spend it for free consuming this content. Thank you. So, what is it? Many of us use this way as background for other things we do. Exercise, focus, relaxation. Some have discovered that combining it with a purpose can enhance that purposeful process and give deeper meaning to activities such as worship, meditation, and more recently, the psychedelic trip. We are slowly beginning to open the pathways back to some of those ancient uses. Why do you think that is happening? Could it be because the more boxed-in approaches to those what-if questions aren't satisfying us anymore? Have we fallen into a love affair with science, technology, engineering, and mathematics that is ultimately unfulfilling? If your desires are less than fulfilled, your practices have begun to feel routine, and you are convinced that in spite of those things, you're still doing it right, let us ask, have you tried music? Yes, music. Not just music playing in the background, or as an accompaniment to exercise, or as a stress intervention. We're talking here about skillfully engaging the right music in ways that transcend entertainment, worship, and ceremony, although all of those kinds of uses are a part of it too. As fascinating as it is to have had a song composed for you by a sound healer, or to sublax into guided meditation with music, or to take a sound bath, or use a music playlist during a psychedelic trip, that's still the tip of the iceberg, so to speak, compared to what's available to you within music. How do I do this? To really put music to work, we must remember how we used to hear it, before education kicked in and society started to shape us. Turns out that that's not all that hard. You could spend your time and treasure on your own investigation, or ultimately spend less of both with an online guided evidence-based tool. Word of caution, this isn't knowledge or experience you can get from a quick fix app or discover in the solfeggio tones, 432 hertz, cymatics, or a binaural beat. As beautiful as those things are, we're going to go deeper here, below the level of knowledge or sound healing, to the fundamentals of your being. And at this writing, there's only one way to take that deep dive into your individual full MEPS awareness that can change everything for good. It's called the Musomorphic Quest. If you take the route to your own online research, you'll quickly find that the music space has not achieved consilience. Plenty of neuroscience, for example, and lots of pop psychology around brain chemistry, as well as some very beautiful vibration-based 3D video, but very little that actually connects the processes of those mental and emotional domains and the stunning imagery to the real-life physical and practically spiritual. And what you want is a full MEPS way, correct? Otherwise, you're doing X and Y practices over there and Q and Z practices over here. And that multiple practice thing is great. How, though, will you combine all of what you do into the unified field that answers all of those what-if questions? You could invent a way that works for you, and that's a great start. Or you could take the Musomorphic Quest and save yourself a ton of research time, plus the trial and error of the scientific process. Remember your desire to improve every aspect of what you're already doing without having to undo any of it. Your desire to support every best practice that you already use in a way that would deepen those practices without competing within them. And your desire to support and encourage every desire you have, every intention, and every end-state outcome that is important to you. The Musomorphic Quest is a supercharged on-ramp to those desires. Why? Because music works on us mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually, below the surface level of practices like yoga, meditation, therapy, even breath work, to unify, orchestrate, a meaningful word, empower, and enliven those modalities in concert with one another. But I already use music. If you're already using music in a way that's informed by evidence from all aspects of MEPS, you're one in a million. Most people see the top of the iceberg and believe they understand everything hidden below the surface. And that's okay. Whatever it is, it's better with music. But what if there's more? Aren't you curious what you might be missing below the surface? Ask yourself, are my desires less than fulfilled? My practices feeling routine? My conviction that doing it right feels tired and worn? If you answered yes, then you might be at the moment where Musomorphic could change everything. It's an important moment, too, because an investment in your experience in the Musomorphic quest can sustain you today as well as guide you in the future. You can discover tools that serve you now and will serve you tomorrow, regardless of the future practices you embrace. While these may seem like startling claims, consider this. Before musicians were entertainers, they were prophets, oracles, historians, philosophers, physicians, scientists, and magicians. We knew what we were talking about back then, and there are a few of us who still operate in that paradigm and offer it to you now. Would you like to learn how to use the power of music this way? This is your invitation. Far more than a fix-it, the Musomorphic quest is about empowering you to meet both challenges and opportunities with simple, heuristic, evidence-based, and historically informed tools that can both intervene and transform. It's all up to you. And you won't find this kind of encouragement and opportunity anywhere else, especially in today's fix-it world, where our only objective seems to be getting back to normal. People, we left normal behind in 2020. Let's go boldly now. What are you waiting for?